Thank you all for being here today. My colleagues on the Cupertino City Council welcome you, and we welcome this development project, Westport Cupertino, after a rigorous process of evaluation and public discussion. Joining me here today from Council are our Vice Mayor Liang Chow, our Councilmember John Willey, Councilmember Kitty Moore, and Councilmember Hung Wei. We represent the public, and that public was well represented in the process. And on behalf of our council, we thank the public for its continued engagement in delivering us to this day, and we wanted to have a moment to observe and celebrate our work together. We record this ceremonial gathering on Saturday, February 26th, 2022, with the hope that soon we will be able to have similar types of gatherings in a live context. Nonetheless, given Cupertino's track record throughout the pandemic, with the lowest rates of COVID transmission, it is fitting that we produce content in this manner in what will, in the most earnest of hopes, be the start of a time when we can directly engage again. For now, we will make the best of it and deliver what we believe to be exemplary content produced by our city's video staff. We have here today a collection of properties which comprise a cohesive whole of housing needs. Before I introduce each of them, please allow me to take a moment to thank the original property owner here, KT Urban. I am appreciative of the journey we have taken together. I know that sometimes there are basic differences in perspective and approach, but I believe the results here are a fine exemplar of how our system is supposed to work. Those differences are acknowledged, they are discussed, basic principles of discourse and civility are observed, and we proceed. While Mark Tersini is not here today, I have appreciated his and his family's work with us, and I think that when we see the collection of developers set forth here for this Westport project, we will share a common understanding of how a community can work together to form a vision and start delivering solutions. Now, I want to say this as well. When I say start delivering solutions, I don't mean that the work itself starts now. We all know that not to be the case. But when we are committed to a system that places public sentiment and input and inclusion of perspective above autocratic means, be they delivered due to monetary influence or more direct means, then the work of necessity requires a great deal of thought and discussion. We have delivered that, and elements of this project have changed, from the basic vision to some of the final details. And here we are. I am very pleased, on behalf of our City Council, to provide to you here today representatives of each of the three development parts of the Westport project, where we record this groundbreaking from today. We also have two elected officials who represent Cupertino, both on the county level and in the United States Congress. City Council and staff have put together a great program for us today, and I extend my deepest appreciation not just to our staff, of whom both our city manager, Jim Troop, as well as Chris Jensen are here today, but also to our members representing each part of the Westport project. To put together this groundbreaking, it was truly a collaborative effort among all of us. And so I extend my wholehearted appreciation for that as well. When thinking about the theme of this groundbreaking, I decided to turn it into the following simple terms: the need, and the future. The first part of this, as we are all deeply aware, is the need for affordable housing in our region. And so we will first hear from a representative of the company delivering below market rate senior housing to this project. Then, after those remarks, and after hearing from our county supervisor, we will hear from a community advocate who helped to bring the second component forward, that second, the need, which is senior living options. After that, we will hear from a representative of what I have termed, for the purpose of this event, the future, to show us a glimpse of the promise in store for Cupertino with needs that have been thoroughly vetted in the realm of future market rate housing. And finally, we are very pleased to deliver for the final remarks our representative to the United States Congress. To start us off with regard to that first component, indisputably, quote, the need, end quote, we have Don Slattery of the Pacific Companies, which is developing on this site senior below market rate units. Welcome, Don.
Well, thank you, Mayor Paul, and thank you everybody here in attendance today. I'm honored and proud to represent the Pacific Companies here today. The Pacific Companies is an umbrella company of Pacific West Communities, which is the development arm of our company, and Pacific West Builders, which will be the general contractor for the project Westport Cupertino. Our passion is to develop and construct much-needed affordable housing for families, seniors, and most recently, permanent supportive housing, which is a homeless population transition, which helps transition the homeless back into their communities. So we are very honored and humbled to be able to bring communities like that into cities. We pride ourselves on being a good partner with the community to bring quality, affordable housing units to every market we work in. We have built more than 200 affordable housing developments over the past 23 years throughout California and the Western United States. We own and operate them all for at least 15 years. And in California, we continue to own and operate them for longer than that. As part of the Westport Cupertino development, we will be constructing the 48-unit, 62 years of age and older senior affordable housing for seniors earning 60% of the median income for the Santa Clara County area. We would like to thank the City of Cupertino council members and staff for their support of this development and for getting us through the building permit process. With affordable housing, we have a very tight timeline to obtain the building permits, 180 days from the date of award to get to building permit. So it puts a lot of stress and pressure on people, our design team, city staff, and the City of Cupertino staff was tremendous in helping us get to that landmark in December of last year. We'd also like to thank KT Urban for the work they did in getting this project entitled and for trusting us, the Pacific Companies, to be a partner on the affordable housing portion. And we look forward to working with Taylor Morrison and related during construction. It's going to be a lot of coordination that's going to have to happen. And, we've already had a few meetings and Zoom calls, and so the coordination will be great, and it'll be much needed. And so with that, I just thank everybody for this development. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of this. And we look forward to bringing the BMR units to Cupertino.
Thank you, Don. Next, we have Supervisor Joe Simitian, who represents District 5 for Santa Clara County, the district that includes Cupertino. Over the years, I have been very honored to call Supervisor Simitian a colleague in public representation. Whether we have worked together on communicating details of vaccine availability during the pandemic or potential options for approaching the issue of the cement factory, or as colleagues on the board of directors for our county's Valley Transportation Authority, I have always found a thoughtful colleague in Joe. Unsurprisingly, he hails from Cupertino. Welcome, Supervisor Simitian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, it was some years ago now that my family bought its first home just down the way on Blaney Avenue. And so I have wonderful, wonderful memories as a kid watching our valley change and grow, never imagining that I would one day be a representative of Cupertino for more than a decade. But that's where my father, a school teacher, found our first home, his first home. And that was back in the day when a local teacher could afford to buy a home on a single school teacher's salary. And when I share that with folks, they often say, "How old are you anyway?" But I want to ask your forgiveness if I stay on a personal theme for just a moment and share with you a more recent experience, just a little bit more than about a decade ago, when my aged father was living in his small home in Palo Alto in a neighborhood called College Terrace. And at the time, I was working in Sacramento as a member of the California State Senate. And I would drive up from Palo Alto to Sacramento on Monday morning, and I would return on Thursday afternoons, Thursday evening, depending on how late we were held in the Capitol. But if I could, and if time permitted, I'd stop by and visit my father, who was then living alone in his own home, determined he wasn't going to go anywhere, just to check in, ask how the week had gone. And so one Thursday, when he was in his 80s, I asked, "How was your week?" And he kind of grimaced a little and shook his head, and I said, what's the matter? He said, "Well, I had to give up my keys. Couldn't drive anymore." Now, I said, "Gee, that's too bad," secretly thinking, thank God. But he had to give up his keys, and then suddenly it dawned on me, "Well, how are you getting around?" And he said, "Well, I'm hitchhiking." And I said, "Oh my God, Dad, you can't do that. That's dangerous." I said, "Why don't you take a cab?" "Too expensive." "Well, what about letting Mary and me, my wife and I, we could, we'll give you some cab script for, the holidays." "Not the point. Too expensive." "Well, what about outreach, paratransit?" "That's for old people." And so, ultimately I came to grips with the fact that my dad was going to be my dad. But then a very sweet thing happened, which is the neighbors in his area figured it out. And so whenever he stepped out on the road, they knew that was Mr. Simitian, and they'd pull over and roll the window down and ask if they could give him a lift. Now that was a marvelous sense of community, but it always struck me as a little bit ad hoc. It seemed to me maybe we ought to be able to do better than that for the seniors who represent the accumulated work and wisdom of our community. And so for me, that has been made manifest in two very specific concerns: transportation and housing. And in fact, that life experience had a lot to do with my engagement on the RIDE program, Reach Your Destination Easily, that some of you are familiar with, that began with West Valley communities like Cupertino and the county partnering to make sure we could find a way to help seniors get from one place to another. But as the earlier remarks made clear, the way we really maintain a sense of community and connection and inclusivity for the seniors in our community is by finding a place for them to live and spend their later years connected to, part of the community that they call home. And that can only happen if people are very deliberate and very purposeful and very determined, and in some cases very patient and persistent about making sure that that vision gets realized. And so when I offer my congratulations, I want to couple it with a thank you to all of you who were part of that process, all of you who were part of that exercise. Looking over my shoulder, what you see right now, no disrespect, is not all that impressive. It's a bulldozed site. Some of you, some of us perhaps, can envision the physical structures that will rise up from this site. But more than that, as we take a few minutes today to celebrate and recognize what's already been done and what will still be done, I hope we can all take a minute to visualize the lives that will be led, the families that will be connected, the memories that will be made, the seniors who will literally walk across the street to take classes, or just down the way to see their friends over a bite to eat, or use the retail facilities right here without needing a lift or a ride, the senior center in close proximity. All of that is a vision for the future that you will, I think, one day be very, very proud of, and you'll be able to say, I helped make that happen. So good for you, congratulations, and more than anything else, thank you. It's been a pleasure to be with you today. Take care.
Thank you, Joe. Our next speaker is Richard Adler. Related Company and its representative, Matthew Whitty, asked that I provide their speaking part today to Richard. and I'm both appreciative of both the generosity and the propriety of this request. Richard is an active member of our Cupertino community, and I can think of no better person to share some thoughts at the outset of the Westport project for this second, the need, which I see as senior living options in our community, where, as with many places, our demographic is trending older. In 2018, Richard led a successful effort to get Cupertino officially recognized by the World Health Organization as an age-friendly city. And since then, he has served as the chair of Age-Friendly Cupertino. Over the past 2 years, the top priorities for this group have been advocating for more accessible and affordable housing for the city's older population and promoting greater digital inclusion for older adults. Richard is also a member of the county's Senior Care Commission and the Advisory Council for SourceWise, which is the county's area agency for aging. In 2021, for these efforts, Richard was awarded by our local Cupertino Chamber of Commerce as the Citizen of the Year. Richard, thank you for your work and welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Paul, and nice to see everybody. As he said, in 2017, I was invited to lead an effort for Cupertino to apply to the World Health Organization to get designated as an age-friendly city. And at the same time, this was an effort in which every one of the 15 cities in Santa Clara County did the same thing. And the concept was that Santa Clara County would become the first county in America in which every one of the cities had been designated as an age-friendly. So we undertook this process, and one of the things we needed to do was to do a survey of our population, because being designated as age-friendly doesn't mean that you've achieved your goal and you've become completely age-friendly. It means that you're committing yourself to working toward that goal, and part of what that means is understanding what the needs of the community are. So we did a survey, and by far, the number one goal that was expressed by the older residents of the city was the availability of appropriate and affordable housing for seniors. And so then, as Mayor Paul said, in 2018, we received that designation, and for the past 4 years, we've been working to advocate for the needs of seniors with a focus particularly on housing and digital inclusion. The other interesting developments in 2001, last year, the state of California, for the first time in its history, released a master plan for aging. And this was under the sponsorship of Governor Newsom. And once again, the number one goal was what they called housing for all ages, with a audacious goal of millions of new housing options to help our population age well. And so what we're celebrating today is really going to be the first major contribution to increasing the stock of senior housing in Cupertino for over 30 years. We do have two what are called CCRCs, continuing care retirement communities. We have rental senior housing, and we have a small below market rate project. But literally nothing has been done in 30 years. So from our view, what we've had is essentially a shortage of senior housing. There's about 20,000 households in the city of Cupertino, and of those households, over 6,500 contain somebody who is age 60 or older. And in fact, if you look at the demographics of our county, what you'll see is over the next 10 years, during this decade, the only age group that's going to be growing substantially are people over 65. So this is already a need, and it's going to be even greater. And I just want to, I really appreciated Supervisor Simitian's pointing out that what's being built here is not just some buildings, but what I think will become a kind of senior neighborhood. The first time in Cupertino, with the senior center, the Atria unit, the below market housing, and across the street, De Anza College, which I hope will also become a facility which is useful to older people. So this is a major contribution, and it's just very nice to be able to participate in. Thank you.
Richard, thank you again. As you can see, a narrative emerges, and as I think, does a type of approach. I would like to relate a brief anecdote here. The Westport project has been years in the making now. The promise of market rate units with ownership opportunities for active members of our community, families, and people contributing directly of their time, presence, and efforts was not always an integral component of this project. And its nature was not truly clear until quite recently. You may be familiar with the December 21st, 2021 meeting of the City Council, where some final decisions were made and discussions were had regarding the Westport project. And you might also be familiar with a business publication following that meeting, which described the portion of Westport where ownership opportunities for housing were to be delivered. I saw that article as well, but what I did not see was a housing developer mentioned. And so imagine my delight when I picked up the phone and called Mark Tersini, and he informed me that the entity mentioned in that article was purely a finance vehicle, and that the housing developer itself was none other than Taylor Morrison, a highly respected and well-known company that brings forth high-quality projects for precisely the type of market rate housing stock of the Westport project. Eventually, I was able to make contact with the representative from Taylor Morrison that we have here today, Jennifer Skillings. And I have to report my confidence that the future, which I described this third and final component of the Westport project, is in good hands with efficient work and effective responses. Jennifer, thank you for being here with us today. I have been most impressed with your mobilization, not just with the work at City Hall, with our staff and the immediate follow-up to the final entitlements, but with today's preparations for the groundbreaking. Thanks very much, and Jennifer, welcome.
Wow. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good afternoon, all. I am so moved by the remarks leading up to my little speech here. I am with the Taylor Morrison Bay Area Division, and we are, yes, a top 5 national home builder, but we are locally located in the Bay Area and have a strong presence across the Silicon Valley and across the entire Bay Area. And we are so thrilled to be here today partnering with the City of Cupertino and with KT Urban, with Pacific Companies and related. We are ready to break ground, as you can see. Taylor Morrison will be kicking off by installing all of the underground infrastructure, the topside improvements, and then we'll move towards the future and building 88 townhomes for families, 3-story kind of traditional row homes, townhomes, but they will be linked with green space to the senior homes and the affordable homes, creating a community. All of us today are so grateful for the remarkable effort that has gone into this project to bring us to this point. The design of the site, as the mayor touched on, is really the culmination of years and years of collaboration amongst so many stakeholders, realizing a design that the city can really be proud of. The neighbors, Cupertino staff, the Planning Commission, and the City Council had a vision that we now get to bring to life. Thinking about just kind of the history on the site, because the site has quite a bit of history. Most recently is an orchard and then the Oaks Shopping Center. But now this dirt field will become a community. It will be a neighborhood. It will have a support system. The new homes will help, yes, to address a severe housing shortage in California, but I see this as an opportunity to give a home to a diversity of age and experience, of income, of culture, of thought. And families will grow here and people will gather here. I personally, revisit projects that we have built, neighborhoods that we've built, and I look forward to a year from now, 5 years from now, returning to this spot and seeing what we've created. On behalf of Taylor Morrison, I want to express my sincere thanks to Mayor Paul and the City Council. Every individual who I've encountered since becoming involved with this project has just really blown me away with their love for their city and for this neighborhood. The staff has been remarkable. The elected officials have been remarkable. I am so excited to start on this project. And the Tersinis, we've worked with them before. They really have, they've come to us as a good partner for this project. And we are super excited. So thank you. We appreciate the support, and we look forward to getting going. Thanks.
Thanks, Jennifer. Well, this is an incredibly exciting and forward-looking palette of housing options that we have to look forward to on this site. I'm so very proud of our community and our city council for working overtime and over long hours to deliver this moment. It is worthy of our area, and I know that we will deliver the best and most innovative type of equity by following the guidelines so apparent in this project's trajectory. On that note, it gives me great happiness to be able to welcome here today Congressman Ro Khanna, who represents the city of Cupertino in addition to other areas within his district in the United States Congress. Congressman Khanna is well known for his commitment to equity and fair treatment, and he also uses his depth of knowledge and experience to represent cutting-edge activities within our highly diverse population. Congressman Khanna, thank you for being here with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, Congressman Ro Khanna.
Thank you, Mayor Paul, for your leadership. Thank you to the council, to Hung and Kitty, John, Liang. A 5-0 vote to approve this. I don't know how you do it. In Congress, we can't get anyone to vote, even majority, let alone 5-0. So congratulations to all of you for a unanimous vote on this. That is a real tribute to your leadership. Congratulations to the staff. I know how much they put into this and getting this through. So I appreciate your hard work. And Richard, thank you for your leadership on both digital inclusion and what you're doing for senior housing and senior communities. I'll be brief because the other speakers said everything that really needed to be said about the community. But when people ask me where I represent, they're obviously intrigued by Silicon Valley, and I'd say I represent a district with Apple and Google, Intel, Yahoo, Cisco. And then I say, it's $11 trillion a market cap in the area. Put that in perspective, Russia's entire economy is 1.6 trillion GDP. And they said, well, what is it like to live there? And what you're doing is so important. Because the concern people have is, okay, is it just all of the Apple spaceship and wealth generation? Or does it actually help everyone in the community? Does it mean that people who are in the working class get a better life? Does it mean people who are seniors have a better life? Does it mean people, regardless of their race and gender, have a better life? Right here at a shopping center where I used to have an office and I used to eat Indian food, there used to be an Indian restaurant there, you're making a statement that this is a community not just for the high-tech millionaires and billionaires. It is a community for everyone, and it is a community that values seniors. It's a community that's going to value people of all different classes to be part of it, and that the wealth and everything that's generated in Silicon Valley is going to benefit everyone in our community. So I think what you're doing matters, obviously, to Cupertino, but more broadly, it matters for our district and our country in being committed to equitable development. And thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Congressman Khanna. That was both thought-provoking and inspiring. As always, what a perfect way to wrap an event that has led us to this moment with the opening of a project. And although the land may lie fallow right now, we are going to ceremonially break ground in a moment. And so why don't we do just that, put this to an end, and break that ground. Let's go to the ground breaking. Thank you very much.